No, you're all good. Come on. Come on. Come on. Oh. I saw him running across the ice and I was like, oh man. You want me to just bring him back to that point?
It's up to you. If you want to toss it, try to toss it back on the ice. You'll be all right. I'll follow.
I might bring him back there because I'm probably going to flip over. Got troublemakers.
Love those paddles.
Yeah, right? They're so nice.
Come on, Cody. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem.
Words can't.
Yeah, no, you're good.
And the hit you took on that. Can I help you in any way? Can I go get that? Or?
No, I'm just going to paddle back there. I just need to get out of all these sticks so I can pedal it. Yeah, no problem. You too.
Who's a good boy?
This good boy is Wookie, and while he may be small, he sure is mighty.
He had been attacked by a wolf up north, and he had fractures of his skull, lacerations from the wolf bites on his face.
The wolf tried to pull Wookie up through a deck in the backyard of a northern Manitoba home. Luckily, the owners stopped the predator in its tracks.
He was very owned and loved by his family. There's multiple kids in the home. They were actually the ones that alerted the adults that the wolf was on the property and was trying to grab the puppy.
Wookie was surrendered to an emergency rescue that works closely with northern communities and was flown to Winnipeg for surgery.
We do expect a full recovery.
But recovery comes with a cost, a hefty one, something the rescue says isn't sustainable.
Our rescues can't keep footing the bill as well as the resources and effort that it takes to rescue tens of thousands of dogs.
While Wookie survived, Katie Powell with Save a Dog Network says many small animals usually don't, and the lack of veterinary resources puts a strain on families, communities, and rescues.
It's a very large crisis where these gaps need to be bridged, not only for the animal's sake, but for the health and safety of all the people that live up there as well.
In Wookie's case, he'll be living in a new forever home in the city.
I fell in love with the dog, and yeah, he's gonna come home with me tonight.
And his new owner says she's positive this is the start of a big future for the little pup.
Who's a good man, he?
This loving moment between a mother polar bear.
You know, this was actually on my second trip. I'd been there the year before. And
upholding the highest standards of food safety and cleanliness, we take this matter very seriously and took direct action, including the immediate removal and discarding of all products within the display case and conducting a thorough sanitation of the affected area. Our pest control management company also conducted a thorough review of the building and implemented additional control measures.
All the advances in automotive tech, one issue only seems to be getting worse: gridlocked traffic. But this Silicon Valley startup says the solution comes straight from our imagination. The flying car.
You can actually use it today, and you can cut your commute at least in half, if not more.
Jim Duchovny says his company Aleph Aeronautics was able to create something we've been dreaming about since the Jetsons.
We're trying to make science fiction a reality.
And while not quite ready for the road, Duchovny says the flying car is about to take off. NBC News was given exclusive access to see their concept model with our own eyes.
If everything goes smoothly, I'm going to watch a car fly over another car. We'll see.
Sure enough, we watched it soar through the air over another car and land. But for all the magic of this moment, we were heavily restricted, forced to shoot at least half a football field away, and we never actually saw the driver entering or exiting the vehicle.
But you're not still all the way there yet because, you know, you wouldn't let me in the cockpit yet.
There's a difference between you and the consumers. We still have some IP, intellectual property, which we're trying to protect.
So far, more than 3,200 early adopters have pre-ordered their $300,000 all-electric flying car. And the company is aiming to begin production by next year. But practicality might be where the rubber meets the sky. Only a few countries allow for the kind of road-to-air reality Duchovny envisions.
It's going to be slow, incremental approach, which is good for legal integration, which is good for consumer integration.
But he says as demand grows, regulations will catch up with the tech. For now, it's still that cutting-edge pie in the sky.
As Adia Dobbins stands in the courtyard of this apartment complex, a car flies into frame.
Couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything, just a lot of smoke.
It's around 10:30 Tuesday morning. Dobbins says she heard what she thought was just a car crash on 9 Mile.
And I heard it before I saw it, and I assumed it was just a really bad crash. And then all of a sudden, this poor man's car just came sailing through the air, and it flipped and it landed, and I just started praying.
Police are still working to determine what caused the 38-year-old driver from Southfield to lose control roughly a block away, travel up on the lawn, and flip over and crash.
You could see that there are some bricks taken down here. I think it was the facade on the side of the walkway there. So it came through here. So we'll be piecing it back together, get all the answers. But I think the majority of the damage was where he actually impacted the building.
Will Turner says he came upon the crash just after it happened.
I turn around and I see this. Now, they took a guy out of here. I hope he's okay.
We're told the victim was conscious and alert, and he was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
It got so bad, even his shoes and socks came off.
The owner of Ferndale One Apartments says he rushed over from Canton as soon as he heard what happened.
Thank God, nobody hurt.
Remarkable.
Yes.
When you look at that, you're like,
oh, I'm sick of them, man. Yeah. I still was crazy.
Given the circumstances, it really is the best-case scenario for all involved.
It's where the car went into the building. There's a stairwell. The apartment behind that, I did check, and everything is safe in there, and the individuals in there are safe. So no injuries to any of the occupants here. We are having the building evaluated for safety, but other than that, it appears that all the residents are going to be able to remain in their units.
The Aviation Industry Corporation of China has just completed a series of takeoff and landing tests on its new all-electric manned blimp, the AS-700D. The AS-700D airship is an electrified version of the company's non-rigid AS-700, replacing its aviation engine and fuel system with a lithium battery electric drive system, propeller system, thrust vector control, and cooling system.
It is a research airship designed for the development of our new energy technology. Its main advantages lie in its environmental friendliness, zero emissions, and lower noise. Based on its performances observed during the maiden flight, we will arrange research trial flight and trial flight specially designed to test its performances.
Developers say the new airship will be used in nature reserves or other ecologically sensitive areas, as well as for scenarios that involve large crowds like concerts or marathons. The ship can fly at a maximum altitude of 3,100 meters and a maximum speed of 80 kilometers per hour. It can carry up to 10 people, including the pilot.
Just weeks after that deadly mid-air crash over the Potomac River, moments after a Black Hawk helicopter was warned it was too close to a passenger jet, now comes word that multiple pilots received collision alerts on final approach to Reagan National Airport. But this time, it would appear those warnings are false alarms, and authorities are asking, what's going on?
We got a couple of traffic advisories, the cautions. We didn't see anybody either.
A source with direct knowledge telling ABC News 6 planes received those mid-air collision warnings in the cockpit Saturday, 3 forced to perform go-arounds. Those traffic collision avoidance systems, known as TCAS, alert pilots if another aircraft is nearby or on a collision course with their plane. But no other planes were close.
There's no known traffic between you and the field. We've had multiple arrivals today, report CAs and RAs for unknown targets. Use caution.
Experts say it's critical these systems work properly to avoid false alarms.
It's a potential major distraction of a flight crew at a very critical time of flight, which is landing.
So if these are not real warnings, and they haven't been, they're distracting and they're dangerous.
Really is incredible. No one was hurt when this ceiling collapsed at the Liberty Cinema in Wenatchee. Look at all the debris on the ground right here, covering rows of that movie theater. The movie was actually still playing. 2 people were there on Tuesday night watching Captain America when that ceiling came crashing down. I spoke with the battalion fire chief who responded to the theater. He told me it really is incredible. 2 people inside were not hurt.
They heard some pops and some cracking. And so the gentleman stood up and was like, I better go take a peek and see what's going on. So he walked up towards the screen and a portion of the ceiling fell down. And as he looked up, he turned around and he ran and said, run, to his girlfriend. She didn't have time to get up and run, and the entire ceiling came down. And she was covered in some of the debris and smacked her foot. And she was sitting 1 row behind it, right where everything collapsed. And had they been sitting in the front row, she probably would have been crushed.
Chief Phillips said the Liberty Cinema was built in 1919. The last remodel was sometime in the 70s. He believes the drop ceiling that fell right here catastrophically failed all at once and everything came down. The building is also older. We got a statement from the owners of the cinema saying in part our team is working with local authorities to ensure a thorough investigation to determine the cause. The safety of our employees are of the utmost importance to me and remains my highest priority.
We're just very fortunate that this didn't happen on a Friday or a Saturday night when the theater was full. It would have been a whole different outcome. This was a best case scenario for a bad situation.
Snow in addition to all of that.
It was no more than a minute into News 4's 9 o'clock newscast last Friday night when forewarned Storm Team meteorologist Aaron Brackett hit the green screen and did something he's done countless times over his 15-year career.
And a lot of times, I start out with a sky cam.
Friday, he showed a sky cam near Penn Square Mall pointing northwest.
7-day forecast moving.
When something caught his eye.
Wonder what that is right there. That's pretty interesting. I start seeing this object, and it's flying faster, moving faster than anything I've really observed out there.
It just didn't make sense.
It's going down. It's moving really quickly. It's bright. It's got some light to it, and I kind of called attention to it. Pretty interesting. Moving really fast. Okay.
He posted the clip online where it took off, making its way from X to TikTok to Reddit to online publications who declared Aaron must have caught a UFO live in action. Dozens of commenters chimed in with theories too. It must be aliens, maybe a bird. It had to be a plane. No, it was definitely a helicopter. We showed it to Chopper 4 pilot Mason Dunn.
At first, I thought it might be a spotlight from the ground, maybe the rotating beacon at an airport, but it doesn't look like that to me, so I have no idea what it is.
One thing he is sure of.
I'm pretty confident that it wasn't a plane or a helicopter.
The physics just wouldn't make sense.
That light is moving very fast. Even faster than an airplane would. If it were a plane, it would have taken longer. Now, I've seen comets and things falling, from the sky during the night when you're flying.
So that's it. It must have been something in space. We took that theory to astronomer Wayne Harris Wyrick.
I first start to think, is that a possible meteor? Because they do enter the atmosphere. Or is that a returning, like a second stage or a burnout stage of a satellite of some kind? And there's certain things you look for. It didn't fit any of those at all.
Plus, Friday wasn't exactly stargazing weather anyway.
It was mostly cloudy that night.
You would have heard noises and you would have had reports of it. But a typical little meteor that makes a streak across the sky that lasts, a second or so, no, you're not going to see that through clouds.
This is far from the first time someone's asked him to decipher a mysterious flying object caught on camera. He says almost every time there is a plausible explanation for what we see.
I just think it seems unlikely to me that any aliens can fly hundreds or thousands of light years here and do stuff like that in our sky. If they're going to come here, they're going to probably be invisible to us.
And not to burst the bubble of all you online theorists, but he's pretty sure he knows what's happening here.
So I think it's a bird.
That's right. just a bird flapping its wings across the night sky.
I'm guessing that camera probably is an infrared camera, which means you're going to see it differently than you would in daylight with sunlight on it. And you can see all the lights of the city down below. I think just getting light from the city coming up, and as it flaps its wings, which I think it's doing, you're getting that change of lighting pattern.
Regardless, it's a close encounter with something Brackett won't forget.
We're always seeing airplanes going up and down, and we've seen hot air balloons, all kinds of cool stuff. This really stuck out.
Now, there were some other people we heard from online who theorized it may have just been a bug crawling across the camera. Harris Wyrick told us he actually thought that as well, but given this time of year it is, with temperatures so cold, he just says he doesn't think that's very likely.
Tonight, thick smoke seen filling the cabin of this Delta Airlines flight, passengers covering their noses, the plane forced to return to Atlanta.
Smoke in the cabin and need to plan a return back.
The 25-year-old Boeing 717 bound for Columbia, South Carolina this morning with 99 passengers and crew on board. But just minutes into the flight, the cabin filling with that thick haze. Delta saying the flight crew followed procedures, making an emergency landing. Atlanta Fire Rescue helping to evacuate the plane. Passengers seen going down slides and standing on one of the wings.
When we went out of one of the exits, we were actually on the wing. And we kept saying, well, how are we going to get down? And we had to go back in the plane enduring more smoke and then go to the other exit and then fly down the chute.
And it comes after these incredible images. Over the weekend, an American Airlines flight from New York's JFK escorted by Italian Air Force fighter jets. The plane headed for New Delhi, India, landing in Rome after it was diverted because of a security threat.
The captain came on and said that there was a diversion due to a security issue.
A senior official telling ABC News the flight was rerouted due to a bomb threat received over email. Passengers bussed to the terminal for screening, Italian authorities conducting a security sweep of the aircraft. The threat later found to be non-credible.
How cool is this? An 8-year-old boy and his neighbor Howard Q sculpted this snowy playground in a Cabot Crescent front yard over Christmas break. Q says it was a learning experience, but a lot of fun to create. The yard now includes archways, statues, and a castle built around a culvert with 3 slides.
So one slide, you slide through the door, and then the big slide, you slide off the bank, and then the other slide on the other side, you do like a big loop and back in, almost into that door.
There's a 4-foot clock.
Q says the response from others has been fantastic, with kids spending time there sledding after school and people stopping by to take pictures. Well, this was the first winter they've created the castle. Q expects it won't be the last.
No.
This is his first crack at it?
It looks fantastic.
I can't wait to see what they come up with next year. That's amazing.
Entirely from snow. It typically opens in January and remains accessible until the snow starts to melt in March.
Whoa! Wow, that's so cool!
We have new information on that Whataburger worker accused of stealing a customer's credit card info to pay her court fines. Police have given her a week to turn herself in, but they learned she has since fled the state. As Fox 5's Doug Evans reports, since her story hit the news, she wants a second chance to surrender.
Sonoy police tell me that 25-year-old Alifa Sumter wants a do-over when it comes to turning herself in. The internet has already dubbed the Whataburger worker one of the dumbest criminals after she allegedly used stolen credit card information from a drive-through customer to pay her own court fines. Police say back in January, Sumter was working the drive-thru at this Noonan Whataburger. A customer reported to Sonoy police that his credit card information was used to pay $400 in fines at the Coweta County State Court Probation Office. Investigators say they simply searched whose fines got paid. They say it was Sumter, and her info revealed she worked at Whataburger. They asked the victim if he'd been to the burger joint. They say he said yes, he had, and he later picked her out of a lineup. Coweta County took out a warrant for probation violation. Sonoy police took out felony warrants for identity theft and credit card fraud. Keep in mind, Sumter's probation was just for misdemeanor pot possession, so things have escalated significantly. Authorities gave her until Friday to turn herself in, but they say she didn't. On Monday, they learned she'd skipped the state. After her story appeared on Fox 5 and on social media, seemingly everywhere, police say she contacted them, asking to turn herself in on Wednesday.
She's taken quite a hammering on social media. She made a mistake. She's not an awful person, but obviously made a bad mistake, and hopefully she'll learn from it and move on. Am I confident she's going to turn herself in? No, but we'll see.
Police say they have good reason to be skeptical, but they say they also don't mind giving her another chance to do the right thing.
This has been a 2025 Apoca Terrier production.